Okay, so let's start with the event recording has been started. Okay. So first of all, I'm Pool. I'm Flutter facilitator for GDSC UIT RGPV, and I'm also organizer of Flutter community for Bhopal. And this event is the third event in our third week. In the last week, we actually got our event delayed due to something, but we are taking it this week, right? So this is the third event of the Flutter Festival that we are having. So this is the week 3, and let me quickly go through what we will be covering today, right? So a quick recap about what all things we have learned so far. We will see that, and then this will be like the last 2 sessions which were there, right? About the basics of Flutter and about the basic information of Flutter Festival. So 5 to 10 minutes recap, not more than that. Then we'll move on to the main topic of this event, that is the fundamental UI building in Flutter. Okay, so how do we actually build UI, and like how do we actually describe UI in terms of Flutter? So finally, this is the most interesting part, I think. That is the code along part. So I hope many of you would have joined using their laptops, as we have also repeatedly mentioned in our text messages that we are sharing over the WhatsApp and all. So if you have, you can easily follow along with us, and you will be able to create some applications with us right now only. Okay, so that's an interesting part that we'll be heading into. So the way I've designed this is just a second. So the way I try to design is I'll take around 20 minutes for this particular part. I'll try to take about 20 minutes, and the rest of the part that is going to be of 40 minutes. And we are going to take it for the actual coding part, because I think that will take more time. And 20 minutes for this, because it's also essential. If you don't know what you are doing it for nothing, right? So this is the breakup of today's session. Okay, so what all things are going to be there. So let's move on. So let's start with the recap part. So basically, let me just change the pending. Here we go. Okay. So Flutter again is developed by Google. It is open source. If any one of you is going to participate in something like GSOC, it should be organization listed there. There should be Dart organization listed in it. And if you search for technology Flutter in GSOC, you will easily find many organizations relating to this. So this is one thing that you can check out. Okay. So this is one of the things. And after this, some basic information, like Flutter provides a wide range of widgets, example text, images, cards, etc. We have discussed many of these in our last lectures or last sessions, but we'll check them out again. It is cross-platform application development framework. I've explained this in much more detail in some previous sessions. But again, you can develop apps for your iOS, Android, web, and desktop. So this is the gist of everything, right? So moving on, this is another slide. Like this is iOS, this is your Android, and this is your desktop application, which is running over there. So this is what I've tried to represent with this. Now another key phrase that you might have heard by now, that is everything in Flutter is a widget. Everything in Flutter is a widget. This is a key phrase that you will hear around a lot in Flutter community actually. Okay. So the next part that goes to, so this is the next part of the session. Okay, so it has only been about 5 minutes, and our recap is already almost near to complete. So yes, this is going to be the important part. Now I want you all to pay a little bit more attention and listen to it very carefully. So we are going to be covering some widgets, widgets like your row, your column, your containers, text, and we'll see one special property of your container widget, that is your properties of decoration, container decoration. We'll see what this container decoration is. And one important thing that we'll do is the stack widget. It's going to be really important. Okay, so once we learn about the stack widget, we are going to move to like some properties of stack, like position. And after we are done with all this part is done, then what we'll do, we will move on to something like creating our own welcome page. Okay, we are going to create our own UI actually. So if I try to show you what that UI would be, I think I can show it to you like that. Let's keep the annotations. And if I go to the last slide, last of the slides, then I can easily show you what we're going to create. Okay, we are going to create something like this kind of UI that we are going to create here. This is the kind of UI that we are going to create. Okay, so this is the thing, and just a second. I think the recording is having some issues. Let me stop it and try to restart it. Okay, now it should be work. It should work fine. I guess I switched up the monitors. I believe. Okay, cool. So again, the recording has started, and let's move on. So back to where we were earlier from current slide. Okay. Again, the same issue is there. It's recording this part. Okay. Okay, fine. Whatever is going on. Let's continue with it. Okay. So this is the basic about what is a column, right? We are covering this first point, that is rows and columns. Okay. So this is a column. We have seen in last session how we work with this column, but again, I am telling you, a column is nothing but elements are arranged like this. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, and 5, like this. So if the elements are arranged like this, then it is a column. And the vertical axis here is called as the main axis. That is the key point. The main axis of a column is the vertical axis, and your horizontal axis of a column is a cross axis. Okay, so a little bit of terminology here you need to remember. The another thing that we have is a row. A row is simply horizontal, nothing fancy or anything complex. It's just horizontal of what column was. Okay, and the main axis of a column is horizontally. The horizontal axis is the main axis, and the other one is the cross axis. So simple information about this. Now in the next slide, you can see we can create some very intricate layouts using all of these rows and columns, right? Like for example, this entire can be one row, and this entire can be one row, and this entire thing can be a one column, and these are rows, and this can again contain two columns like this one, and this entire thing has two. So yeah, that can also happen. So we can create some complex layouts using it. Okay, this is all recap that we are doing. Okay, we have covered it in much more detail in the last session. We are just covering it so that everyone is on the same page. So let's see these things as well again. So the region of the app in the bottom of the screen, where you get something like this slider or this options, which you can use to switch the screens, that is known as your bottom navigation bar. Okay, so it may contain icons like this, search icon, bookmarks, profile, and something like that. Okay, this is bottom navigation bar. This is a revision that we are currently doing. Okay, so we have covered in much more detail in the last session. So again, on the top of the app, the region which is there, this is known as an app bar. App bar, like this. So it's pretty standard in all of the applications that are there right now, right? So this is the body. Just to put out the words, this is the body. Everything between these two things can be considered as our app body. Okay, now let's move to the code. This much of the revision part that we covered in the last session, but now we are going to try to move to the coding part. Okay. So if you all have joined in through your laptops, what I want you to do is just simply go ahead to this thing. I'm sharing a link. Just a second. I'm sharing a link in the chat. If you know, you can go to Flutter Lab. We used the same website in our last session as well. So I guess some of you would already have their accounts on this website. But if you don't have, you can simply go and create one. I'm putting it in the chat. I pasted the link or lab link. You can open this thing up, and it will be something like this. Once you have opened this up, it will be opening something like this. Okay. So if you are following along, can you let me know if you are following along? If anyone is following along. with their laptop. Like we can let me just know how many people are going to be following along with this. Okay, Acha, can you type +1 like this in the chat? Like that will be much more convenient to see, I believe. Okay, I see 2 hands raised. Okay, Manish says yes. Okay, Arya, Ashutosh, Shivangi, Apni, bye. Okay. Okay, cool. Many of you are going to be following it hands-on, right? So that's a very good thing. I encourage you to do this because as I'm doing it, you will also get to learn how to do it, and your practical skills will also improve doing this, right? So it's good. Sukhdev, Payal, Sara. Okay, cool. So many of you are following along. So I simply want you to go to this thing, flutlab.io, create your account, and your homepage will be something like this. Okay, create a new project if you don't have already created a project. So I have reached my project limit, that is 2, so I cannot create more. But if you haven't created any project, you can simply create a new project and simply open this project up. So little bit about FlutLab. What FlutLab is? FlutLab is an online Flutter editor. Okay, so you don't have to install Flutter. You don't have to deal with any of its dependencies or like the SDK, the entire SDK which is there of around 1 GB. No need to worry about anything. Just open this website and you're good to go. It gives you a very good editor as well, this FlutLab, so you don't have to worry about anything. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we have covered so far and reiterate it over once more. So if you have created a new project, okay, so something like this will be there, okay. So you will have an import statement on the top, okay, that is importing this material.dart library. So again, I'm telling you that the language which we're dealing with is known as Dart, okay, DART. So this is the file extension for that, Dart, like Java is there, right, .java. So this is the Dart language, and we are importing a library called as material. And here there is a void main. Okay, so in many languages there it is there, right? In Java it's there, I guess. In C++ it's there. So this is the void main function calling this class, and this is a stateless widget. And if you remember in the last session, I told you that you actually do not need to worry about all of this code. You remember I told you that you only need to worry about this black part, because the rest of the part is just boilerplate. It's like you have to write that much of code just to make the things run, right? So just don't worry about any of this code which is on the top. Simply look at this code
Hello.
which is here. Okay, so yes, is
Uh,
someone
so
saying
your,
something?
s- so your screen sharing, your screen is not sharing.
My screen is not sharing. Oh, okay. I've shared the screen actually. Is anyone else
Manish,
facing the same issue?
yeah, actually, I can see the screen properly. Manish, can you just recheck? Maybe there's
Hmm.
something that is that needs to be done from your side.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Or
because
maybe just try rejoining the meet or something. Can anyone else please confirm if they can see the screen?
okay, Shagun says so.
Yes, sir, I
Tracy
can see the screen. It's visible.
Okay, Manisha, I think it's some network issue or something. You can try rejoining. Okay.
sure, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's move on. Okay, so if you have created a new project or something like that, what you need to do is remove everything. Simply remove everything. Okay. Don't keep any of the previous code that was there. So I already have some code written over here, and what I can do right now, I can send you this code. Okay, actually, I can send you this code, so it will be easier for you to follow along. I'm removing some parts from it and I'm sending it to you. Don't worry. I'm making some changes to it so that you can receive it very easily. Okay, so I'm sending you this code. If you don't have anything on your FlutLab right now, simply paste this. Okay, I've sent it in a chat. If you don't have anything on your FlutLab right now, or you just want to start fresh. You just want to start a new project, right? Simply remove everything and simply paste the code I have sent you. Control A, select everything, remove everything, and then just simply paste this thing, the code I have sent you. That way, we are both going to be on the same page. So I'm going to build this project now. It will take about a minute, I think, to do so. In the meantime, just go ahead and remove everything from your main.dart file and paste the code that I have given you. If any issue is there in building or something, errors are coming, then just let me know. Building, so again, this is all boilerplate code. You only need to worry about this much, and even less than that, I'll tell you how. So we covered something called as a column in the last lecture, I think. Yeah. So we have created this application called as MyPets in the last session, and this MyPets was simply nothing but a column of two images like this. There were children to this column, and there were two images like this. Image one, URL one, URL two. You can find URL from the internet, like any URL you can put it in of a valid image. And something like this we had created, right? And this is the same code that I have given to you. The code which I have given you will generate a similar output. It's actually the same code actually. It has already been built on my system. Yeah, so you see there is this these two images, one below the other, and this also has a drawer. Okay, so let's not worry about that. But it is a column of two images. These are the two images, image.network and the URL, and this is a column of children, two images like this. So has anyone faced any issues till now, reaching till here? This is going to be like a kind of an interactive session because it's hands-on and like it's not offline, right? It's an online hands-on event. So if anyone is facing any issues, just let me know. We can resolve them up. How to bring the phone view? Okay. It's simple. Just go here. Here is the button. If you are able to see, this build project is there, right? Shubhangini, here is the build project button. You can simply press this button and it will automatically take 2 minutes and it will just bring out the same view. Okay, Ashutosh says it's done and Sukhdev also says it's done. I believe it would be done by now because like it's pretty simple, right? So let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So someone asked in the last session that how to add a bottom navigation bar, right? I talked about it in a previous slide, and someone asked that how we can put this thing in, right? So let's see how we can put a bottom navigation bar. So putting a bottom navigation bar is actually pretty simple. What you need to do, you need to just take this code, which is here. Let me try it out in front of you first, that if it's working. So like last time, it won't work. Okay, so and simply put it below the drawer. Put it below the drawer. And I'm hitting reload. Let's see if it works. If it works, I'll share the code with you. Okay, so it has some errors, right? So these are because of the PowerPoint conversion. This is because of the PowerPoint thing. So if you can write this thing down on your own, or what should I do? If you can copy this thing down on your own, or type it out on your own. Don't just copy paste this, okay? Because I'm copy pasting it from a PowerPoint and it's giving some trouble. So if you can paste this code below the drawer, you will be able to see a bottom bar like this below, home, search, and profile like this. It's pretty simple. There is a class called as bottom navigation bar class, which takes items. Items is a list of how many items you want inside of it. So I want bottom navigation bar item, home, search, and profile. So I entered 3 items here, like this. Actually, let me just write it down so that. Okay, let me just write it down. Back what it's called, bottom navigation bar. Bottom navigation bar. Bottom navigation bar. And it takes items. And what does it take in items? It takes objects of. And if someone is wondering, like, how will they know that it takes a object of this kind? It's partly because I already know that it takes a object of these things, or otherwise you can find it out in the like this pop-ups which are there, right? In these pop-ups also it tells you sometimes that what kinds of objects it is expecting. But for right now, you can just take it from me. Don't worry if you don't know. It's just we have just been doing this for like 1 or 2 classes till now. So don't worry about it. Bottom navigation bar is defined for the type my app. What's there? Items, it's items. It's item. What is it? Bottom navigation bar item. Have I written something wrong? Achha, no, it's nothing wrong. Okay. So I need to give it a label. Label can be like home. And icon as well I need to give. Icon can be icon of icons.home. And I can write 2 or 3 of these. A comma at the end. Yeah. So I think there are no errors. Let's try to run this thing. Then I'll share it with you. What happened? Did it work? Yeah, it worked. It worked. Like this. There is the bottom navigation bar with the 3 same icons. So let me change it to search and profile. Okay, so this is all simple stuff that we are doing till now. We are going to move to some little bit of more advanced things. Okay, so don't worry if you are thinking this is very basic or something. We're going to move to advanced stuff. Yeah, so you see it has changed the bottom navigation bar items. So I'm sharing this code with you in the chat. Simply add this entire piece of code below the draw part in your scaffold, and you will be simply able to generate the draw. You can play around with the code actually, right? Because you have not written this thing, so you can actually play around with it and tweak it as per your liking. Okay, so let's move to the next part. So here is another very interesting widget. Okay, it is a widget that that is used exactly everywhere, but nobody pays a lot of attention to it. Okay, so it's kind of a if you have done HTML, right? If you've done HTML, it's kind of div. You have a div, right? Inside of which you write all the code and all the other HTML tags. I would say it's kind of like that. It's a container element that contains other widgets, but it has mostly not. It's not much used of its on its own like this, like how we have used it. Okay. So let's try this thing out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace the entire body with this container element. I'm replacing the entire body with this container element like this. And if I hit save now, so why do we use the container, right? Why am I even bothering to tell you this thing? Acha, again, I copied the code. Okay, it won't work. So let me just type it down. Body. We have to find a solution to this. Like, why am I writing code and just rewriting it again like this? Container, and let's give it a height and width. So this is the key property that of a container. A container can be assigned a height and width. Height and width. So let me give a height of 200. And this property of a container is useful because we can give a height and width to other widgets which don't have a height and width parameter. If you're understanding what I'm trying to say here. I think there is one extra bracket here. Yeah, brackets are always an issue in this thing. You can easily mess up brackets. Let's assign it a color. And I'm telling you container because it will be useful in the main UI that we'll build, okay? At that time, I want that you should know what is a container. That's why I'm telling it to you right now. Colors.red. And let us wrap it with a center widget. Hit control dot over this thing and make it centered. If I restart this, reload this again, we should see a red colored square in the middle of the screen. Yeah, so all the beautiful images are gone and it's just a red square now. So it doesn't have much of utility in itself, but we are going to use it to give height and width to other elements. That's why it's useful. Now I'm sharing you this code. Simply replace your entire body tag with this thing and you're good to go. Is anyone facing any errors or something? You can just let me know. Anyone facing any kinds of errors? If no, then should we move ahead with the main thing that we're going to do, that is stack. Okay, I assume that we should move on. If anyone is doing or like working with this thing, just let me know. We can wait a few minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to move to the next part, that is the stack. Okay, let's move to the next part, that is the stack. Okay. So what is the stack basically? Let's start with the PPT. So, okay, this is the screen. Okay, this is the screen that we have. This is the screen, blue colored frame. This is the screen. And what happens is we put in one element in this screen. This is one widget, yellow colored widget. Widget 1. Then we put another widget on top of it. This is another widget, W2. And then we put another widget on top of it, like this, widget 3. So are you able to see what is happening here? In the column, in the case of column, right? If I can take this back. In the case of column, if you see here, elements were one below the other. They are not on top of each other. This is the first element and this is the second element. They are one below the other. But this is not the case with the stack. Okay, stack, what is happening in the stack? One element came in, another one will slide over the top, and the next one will slide over its top. So it creates a stack kind of structure, right? And I have a stack here as well, like this. So you might have done it when data structures and algorithms, this term called a stack. it looks similar to this. That is, each element is on one over the other, and there is, and like you can push and pop elements from top. So that was the TSS stack. But here, why we use it to put widgets one over the other. Okay, so let's see how it works simply. So a stack by default, if you don't give any arguments to a stack, okay, and you simply put 3 elements inside of it, it will align all the widgets on the top left of the screen like this. If you simply give a yellow widget, a green widget, and a blue widget, what it will do, it will simply align them on the top left of the screen like this, right? So their 0, 0 is here. So from here they will start this, and they will be aligned like this. But in many of the cases, we don't want to do this, right? You might want to center this blue one right here, or you might want something like this, where all the elements are centered. How do we do that? We do that using the positioned widget and the aligned widget. So if you are confused by like what is this tag, what is this position, let's try some examples to make it a little bit more clear. Okay, let's try some examples. Okay, so this is the example that we are going to create right now. We are going to replace this body tag with this thing. We are going to replace this body tag with this, and stack is similar to how a column widget is. It takes children, and in children there are 3 children. 2 of the images are there and 1 text. And if you see, I have not given any properties, right? Properties are not there. So by default, it has aligned all the elements to the top left of the screen. The text is here, the image 1 is here, and the image 2 is here. Just as I told you in the PPT, in the last slide here. By default, it will run all those things here. So let's come to this stage. Let me share you code to this much part and try to do this much. Then we'll move on. Okay, so I'm going to write it in front of you here. I'm going to remove this thing. What I'm going to do is stack, and it takes children. And children is a list. List of what? List of widgets. So let's give it some widgets. What should we give it in? Let's give some images as we have done in the PPT. Image.network, and we can give image.network, and we need to put in a URL, right? So let's go to Pexels, get an image URL. And we can go to the nature section here. Simply finding out an image to put the URL of. Would this look fine? Open link in new tab. Have they upgraded or something? Like, where is the image option? Okay, no issues. We can open it up and then get the image. Open image in new tab. And you can simply copy this URL from here. Easy as that. Yep. So let's paste this URL here. And you can bring in another URL. I'm going to bring in another URL right now. Okay, you need to put a comma at the end. That is what I'm seeing here. It's a little bit annoying. Yeah. Let's put a comma here and let's give it text. Text of mountain. And there is some error it is showing. I think it's excess of brackets. Okay, the errors has been resolved. Let's try to hot reload this and hope it works. Reloading. Okay, so here we have our mountains and text is not even visible. Let's try to give it style. We give it text style, and we give it text style of, let's increase the font size first. Font size, that is, let's make it 35, big enough, and let's give it a color sort white, and let's give it what font weight. Font weight is simply bold, italics, and that kind of stuff. We give it font weight dot bold. There is a missing comma here. So if you are, again, like I'm repeating this, if you're wondering like how do I know this, I've just seen it somewhere else. Okay, I've just studied it somewhere else. It's nothing like you will have to know everything at once, right? Once you have seen it, then you should remember it for the next part. So you see what is happening over here. We have a text over the image. It's not below the image. It's not over the image. It's not on top of the image. It's over the image. It's sitting on top of the image. So this is what a stack does, and it's a very powerful tool in UI. That's why I decided to put this in. Now I'm going to share this much code with you. Let me share this thing so that you can put it in your lab and check this thing out. Where's the streams? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Someone has already pasted the code. That's correct. You can, for the rest of the folks, if you want to try it out, simply plug and put this thing into your body stack, and will work something like this. Okay. So fairly easy till now. Stack, but very important. Okay, it's very important. Let's take another picture like this. This one. This looks good. Open. Let's directly copy the image address and go back. Okay. So this is the first thing that I wanted you all to do. Okay. So you all are just familiar with stack, right? You know what a stack does. So you can try it out with two images. I've done it with one image in front of you, but the example which I've taken here contains it with two images. Can you please tell about brackets? I'm getting messages. Yeah, brackets are issues. If you want my code, I can send it to you because I cannot tell which bracket you have put in. Right? You will have to figure that part out. But but try to. You will have something like this. If you are able to see, like in my screen, it is written stack over here in like two brackets kind of two comments kind of thing, but faintly it is visible, but stack is written over it implies that stack has been ended here. That's what it means. So if you're able to make it out like that, if you're not able to do it, I'll send you my code, don't worry. You can try it out 2-3 minutes. It should be easy, but if you're not able to do it, I'll send you this code. You can simply put it in. Okay, any other person facing any other issues? Okay, so I should send my code, people is saying. Yeah, I'll send it. Okay, don't worry, I'll send it. Any other issues anyone is facing? If so, you can simply tell me right now. Otherwise, I'm sending the code like this. Okay, I've sent my code in the chat window. Simply go and put this thing in entirely. Remove everything and put it in. The only issue you are making is that you have missed some bracket somewhere and you are messed up with that. I understand that happens. Don't worry. That happens quite often. Yeah, so it's a good question, Apni, how to adjust the size of the image and rest of its properties. Let's cover it. Okay, I'll take it right. I'll take it. I'll answer your question just in a few minutes. Okay. Put a trailing comma after each bracket so that you can use bracket pair colorizer. Yeah, that can work. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'll take your answer. I'll take your question, Amni. So let's move with the next thing that I want to tell you in Stack. Okay, there are some things in Stack that I want to discuss, cover before taking that question. Okay, so I'll take that. So the next property which I talked about in Stack, right? If you are able to see, this is the thing that you're getting, the mountains image and the mountains text that we had. It's just as I told you, it's on the top left of the screen. The entire thing is on the top left. So how do we position it? How do we make it like? How do we make it to the center? How do we put it in the bottom and things like that, right? So we can do it using this position widget, which I'm going to tell you about right now. Okay, so there is a widget called as positioned, and I'll send you this code later on. Just let's just fix it first. Yeah. So go to this image.network, hit control dot. Okay, control dot, and simply wrap it with a widget. Okay, once you've wrapped it with the widget, what you can do is simply do position. Wrap it with a positioned widget. Do it similarly with this text as well. Wrap it with position. So now I've wrapped both of these things with position widget. I'm going to restart this. You will see nothing will happen, okay? Because I have not yet specified what are the kinds of position that I want to put these things into, right? I've just said that, yes, I want to position them, but how I want to position them, and that I have not specified till now. So now let's go ahead and do that part. So we are not going to do anything with the image. I think it's good at its place. Let's try to move the text to the center, okay? Let's try to move the text to the center. So how we can do that? Let's try to move the text to the bottom right of the screen, or at the bottom for the first part. So simply put in bottom, and put in 0. It is showing some errors. Okay, it should be fine now. Let's see. Yeah, so you see it has stick to the bottom right now. Okay, what it basically saying is for the child, that is a text widget, right? The text that should be 0 pixels from the bottom. This is how we can read this thing, right? It should be 0 pixels from the bottom of the stack. And the bottom of the stack is, it's here at the bottom of the image, right? And it should be 0 pixels from the bottom. That means it should be on the bottom. And similarly, there are properties like left and right as well. If I make it 0 pixel from the left, then it will 0 pixel from the right actually. It's already for 0 pixel from the left. You can think that out. I can save this thing. Yeah. So you see now it's 0 pixels from the bottom and 0 pixels from the right. So this is how you can position a widget in a stack, right? It's very powerful tool. That's why I wanted to cover this. I'm sending you this much code, okay? Now don't mess up with the brackets, okay? Like I'll have to again and again send the same thing otherwise. I'm sending you this code. Try to run this thing. Okay, Jatin is saying hide width property of image class will help you adjust size. Yeah, you are correct. I'll take that. Okay. Ashutosh Soni is saying there are things covered in prior as I'm not getting what's going on. Ashutosh, are you able to run this project, or are you able to run this project at least? Because whatever we have covered so far, I have covered it in the like 20 minutes or 10 minutes kind of recap. And it's very simple actually. You just try to think like it's very simple. We have done nothing very fancy till now. We'll do one fancy UI thing at the end, but till now it's very easy. Just think of it. You got what a stack is, how a stack works. Like it keeps elements on one top of each other, or any specific part that you are lagging behind in. I can explain it to you again. Okay, you are clear with concept. I think you are facing difficulty in code. Is that it? Yeah, about the code, I can tell you that it's a fairly it might be a fairly new place for you. This is Dart language and it's Flutter SDK, so you will get a hang of it with time. Don't worry about it. Yes, for the some parts, yes, because think about it this way. Do you know any programming language like C++, Java, or anything, or any other framework like JavaScript or React or something? You know about CPP, right? C++. So there are things that you need to remember, right? How inheritance work in C++, how are the public and private classes defined in C++, things like that, right? So it's pretty it's how a language and a framework works. If you have worked with any framework, like any other framework, yeah, the kind of syntax and also the concepts of the language, because this is not really a language, right? We are working with a framework here. So if you worked with a framework like React.js or your Node.js or your Django, something like that, so it will get time for you to adopt. I can understand that part, but the point would be that try to understand the concept. The code will be easy for you the next time you do it. Okay, that's the thing. I can understand that part. Okay, so let's move on with the stack part. And after that, just after covering this stack, what we are going to do, we are going to create this beautiful looking UI here, which is given over here. And we are going to use stack containers and everything which I have covered so far with a few more things. Okay, so we are going to do this. So, okay, there is another property of stack called as position.fill. It's a special property of this position widget itself, which allows you to do some more powerful stuff like this, which I'm going to tell you right now. If I hit control dot, wrap it with the widget and align, there is an align widget, okay, align, A-L-I-G-N, which can be used to directly center the objects in a stack. I'm showing you how it's done. Alignment dot center. I've made some mistake, I think. Okay, it's capital A. A-L-I-G-N-M-E-N-T. Center. Hit alignment property also. What is it? Hit control space if you don't know what are the properties of a widget. As I'm not figuring out like what's the exact property name, I hit control space. It's given me the property and I can use it directly. So now I've used this particular widget. Let's try to run this. Yeah, so you see mountains is already in the center of the image. So it's a helper, it's kind of a helper widget of the position itself, but it gives you some pre-built things like your alignment properties and things like this. So as to like make your job easier as a developer. I'm sharing you this code. You can try this thing out as well. And after this, we are going to move to our UI part. Okay. Yeah. So you can try this thing out as well. And once you guys are done with it, let's move to this UI screen. This is the screen that we are going to create. I have it as an image, I think. Okay, so this image has contains a lot of things, right? It looks nice, that's why I picked it up, and it's fairly simple enough. That's why I took this. So if anyone of you is not doing the thing, not doing the coding part right now, can you identify the parts or the widgets that might get used inside of this thing? How you might approach to create this kind of screen? If anyone is not doing the coding part, you can try to think of like how you can do this. Okay, I'll tell you the assets, right? This is one of the asset, and this is another asset that we are going to use. So if you are able to see it clearly, these stripes are on the back, and on top of it there are these bird images. These bird images are on the stack here. Like this, there are like you are able to make it out, right? Like this. That's why I covered stack, right? It's very important in UI building. Like this. We are going to do something like this. Yes, exactly. So yes, this is the thing that is there. So I think let's move to this thing. Okay, I'm going to share you these images first. Let me share these images with you. I have these things in my Google Drive. Let's generate a link. Copy. So this is the link to both of these images that I have here. Just go ahead and download it. Just keep it in your downloads folder. download those images and put them in your downloads folder. We are just going to start in a minute. It will take about another 15-20 minutes, I think. It's already over time, I think. Oh, okay, it's already 6. Fine, I'll try to cover it as soon as I can. Okay, so first part was understanding the widgets layout, right? So yes, some folks have guessed it correctly. They're going to stack to put images on top of each other. You're also going to put text, images, containers, and things like that. But yes, that was correct. Firstly, we need to upload these assets, right? I provided you 2 images. We need to upload them to your Flutter. Then what we need to do, we need to update the perspec.yaml file, and then we will write the code. Let's quickly run through these 2 and 3 number of steps. 2 and 3. Let's try to upload these assets. Okay. So let me remove this thing. Okay, much better. You can use this move thing. Yeah. So if you can see here, if you see here carefully, let me show you here. You can create a new folder here. Create a new folder like this. Let me remove my folder. I have already created this. Let me remove it. Okay, so you will have something like this on your hand, right? And what we need to do is we need to create something like this, a folder structure, something like this. Like this. You need to create an assets folder and put both of these images inside of it, like this, below your Android, not inside your Android, below your Android folder. If you create it inside of Android folder, it will not work. It will not work, simply put. Okay, so below the Android folder, you need to put the assets. Let me do it in front of you. I'm going here and creating a new folder. I'm naming it as assets. So you see, I have a new folder called as assets. Folder created. Where is it? Okay, yeah. So you see, I made the same mistake here. I created a new folder inside of a Android folder. That's not how it will work. Just close this thing up. Close this thing up. Create a folder below your Android folder. If you want, I can share a GitHub repository after the session of this thing. So now you see I have a assets folder below the Android folder, not inside of it. And let's upload our files here, upload files. So I have my files here. Let's upload them. Stars and birds. Upload. So I think these are uploaded. Yeah. So it's uploaded and your file structure should look like this. This is very important. Let me write it down as well.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, actually, my folder is getting created inside the Android folder.
Okay, yes, I understand your problem. What you need to do, just look here carefully. You are hitting the create new folder, which is coming over the Android folder name. That's why it is happening. If you look here carefully, you can see that thing. If I go over to this Android folder, and if I create a folder over this thing, it will create it inside it. But what I need to do, I need to go over to this topmost folder. This is the topmost folder, right? This is my project folder. And on this, I need to create my folder. If you do that, it will not create inside of the Android folder. Try that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. I'm repeating myself. If you just go to the topmost folder which is there, your project folder that is there, and hit create folder on top of it. If you do that, it will create a folder inside of it. That's what we want. Yeah, your folder structure should be exactly like this for it to work correctly. If you have done that much, then let's move on to this another thing that we have. Another thing that we need to take care of is this pubspec.yaml file. So here is the last file, right? spec.yaml. Open this thing up. This is kind of your package.json file in your JavaScript projects that is there, which contains everything related dependencies and all for the project, right? Kind of that project, that file. So after this prospect.yaml file, you need to paste this thing. And it should be exactly like this. It cannot be, and it's space sensitive. If you put one extra space, it will not work. So I cannot paste it like this, I think. Can I? Paste this code exactly as I'm giving it to you. Go to line 40, line 41, line 42, and from line 43, paste this code. Make sure that you are on the same level like this. You're only 2 spaces away from the starting of the line like this. 1, 2, 2 spaces away. This is very important, otherwise it will not work for you. Do this much, then okay, let's go ahead. Let's try to go ahead and test this thing out. If it works, then you will also know that it is working. And if it doesn't, it will immediately show it to you, right? So what I'm going to do here, after completing these 2 steps, which I'm writing it down, step 1, step 2. What you need to do, you need to paste this code. 943. It's a little bit of it's a little bit tricky first time. I can understand that, but if you are able to do it for the this time, then it won't be much difficult for you later on. So I've given the instructions. You can follow them, and I'm moving on to the next part. It's a little bit tricky. I understand that. What I want to do is I want to remove this entire image. Instead of this image, I can put image.asset and give assets slash or stars dot png. And if I try to save it, it should work. The stars image should come up. If it doesn't, then I have made a mistake, and you can tell me in the chat or by unmuting yourself. Okay, so you see my stars image has appeared. This asset which was there, right? It has appeared here. So that means it is working. So I'm going to remove this bottom navigator bar. I'm removing this thing. I'm removing the drawer and the app bar also, because I don't need those right now. Now let's try to run it. Because my UI is something like this, right? It doesn't have a app bar, it doesn't have a drawer, it doesn't have a bottom navigation bar, it doesn't have anything. So I've removed all of these things, and now you see, okay, Avni, now I can take your part that you were asking, right? Now, if you notice, my image is not covering the entire screen. So now I need to use some properties of this image. So there is a property called as fit. We can try the fit property of this. There are properties like box fit dot. Let's try to make it cover the entire surface, cover the entire screen. So I am selecting box fit dot cover. These are similar to some properties that you have in anywhere else. Okay, let's wait for it. Okay, it did not work, I see. It did not work as I expected it. So we are going to make some modifications to it. But we need to manipulate this thing for in order it to work for. Okay, let's see. And we want another image, right? We want another image. Let's remove this entire thing, I think. Or what should we do first? Okay, let's give a background color to this thing. Background, or what is the color property of the scaffold? So there is a background color property to this scaffold. I'm going to use this thing to change the background color first. And I'm going to give this background color to you. It was present in the UI which I have chosen. You save this. I'm pasting this in the code. You can paste this background color. I can understand if this becomes a little bit hectic for you guys to follow. It would have been much easier in the offline event scenario. But just bear with me, okay? You are going to create the exact UI that I'm having here. So now you see it's already looking better with the new color introduced. So we have the proper color here. We have this thing as well. What we don't have is that image is not aligning, right? What we can do with the image. Okay, but let's try to adjust the height and width of the image. I think that should make it work. So I tried boxwidth.cover. Let's keep it in place and let's add height and width. Images have height and width here. And I'm going to use double dot infinity to give it maximum height and width. Okay, it went behind this thing. It becomes a little bit annoying, I think, this emulator. Infinity. Let's try to save this and see if it made the effect. Yeah, it worked. So you see what happened. I think I answered your question of me that how do we manipulate the height, width, and other properties, right? And someone also in the chat answered it correctly. There are height, width, and fit properties of an image that you can use to manipulate this image, as I've done here. So earlier the image was not fitting properly. It was not covering the entire screen. So what I gave it a width of infinite. Like how much space width is available, you take that. So that I have done, and it's fitting now correctly. Another thing, what I can do. Yes, is anyone saying something?
Yes, sir. Sir, can we change the height and width according to percentages like we do for CSS or HTML?
Yes, yes, you can do that. I can show you that. Okay, let's bring in the bird image and we'll try to do it with that. Okay, let's bring the bird image first. We can do it with it. Okay, so I need to add another image to this. First position, and let's give it a child, and let's give it a line. Okay, Ashutosh is asking for the code. Yeah. I pretty much forgot about it. Yes, it's a good reminder. I should send you this thing. I'm sending you this entire scaffold right now because the background color is also changed. That's why. Or what should I do? I can send you only the body part. I think that much you can manage. I'm sending you this body part. And if you are able to, if this code is running on your system as well, then you have uploaded the images correctly. You can try to run this thing. Meanwhile, I'm moving ahead because we are already way ahead of our time. Copying this thing, pasting this thing again. Let's remove the height and width for now. Or I think let's put them in. And try to use another image. That was birds.png. Birds.png. Let's try to save this thing. It will not look good. We have to position it a little bit. And height and width will also not be correct for this thing. But you see what happened that the bird image is entirely covering the screen. So let's change that. Okay. So now let's come into this height and width part. Oh, for once, you can give the static values to this thing like you can give 200, for example. These are static values that you can give. And for the percentage part, which is there in the CSS, I think, what you can do, you can use media query. There is a thing called as media query here. Media query dot of context dot size. It's a little bit more words to write here. Just dot width times 0.5. This will give me the entire width of the screen, and then I am multiplying it by 0.5. So I want to take up half of the screen as the width, right? So let's try to save this thing. So there is some error. Let's see. Saying media query ancestor not found. Okay, so I cannot use media query directly like this. I need to do some other thing as well. I need to put it inside of a builder, I think. But let's not go into that right now. You can get away with this media query for a lot of things, but it's not working right now because I need to add one more widget for it. Okay, so don't worry about it, but you can use the media query. Okay, and I have to add 2-3 more things, which will be like not really necessary, I think, right now.
So can we use the media query for the entire entire app?
Yeah, you can do so. You can do so. You can put a media query on top of everything, every widget, right? That is there, and you can try to control. Like you can check if it is greater than something 768 pixels, then show this UI layout, then show this layout. You can do that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that is possible. I have removed this for now, media query part, just because one more thing will be required for that. You can take it up later on, but right now time is really running out. Okay, so now you see it is positioned on the top of the image, right? And I want to bring it a little bit down. So what I will do, I will simply come here and give bottom. And instead of saying 0 pixels from the bottom, what I can do, I can say is, let's bring it to 200 pixels from the bottom. Let's try to run this thing. It should be 200 pixels from the bottom now. Okay, looks much better. Let's manipulate the width of this thing and make it a little bit smaller than this width. Let's give it a width of 150, I think. Or what we can do, we can change the device size, right? Full display. Okay, this option was also there. Looks better now. But you see, it's becoming hectic to manage this entire thing, right? That's why it's not recommended to use this and install the Flutter on your own system so that you don't have to deal with all this hassle. Okay, now it's 200. Now its size is small. Let's make it a little larger. 250 would be fine. And let's bring it to the right hand side of the screen as well, because we want it at the right. The branch is cutting off there, right? 0. It should be 0 pixels from the right and 200 pixels from the bottom. That would work fine. Yeah, it looks perfect to me right now. Okay, so to the mountains part, what I'm going to do, instead of aligning it to center, I can align it to top center. It to top center part. Top center, like this. And I can hit save. We can also add some property to this, like top, and make it something like 100, I think. But okay, let's try to save this. Instead of mountains, you can write welcome here. This development process will be much faster on your own laptop or a laptop and on your own local setup that you might have. It will be much faster than this. It's a web-based editor. It works very fine for demonstration purposes, but for actual development, I would always recommend you to use a local setup. Now I'm going to create this button, which is here. This button, get started button, right? This get started button. Now let's see how we can create this button quickly. I'm having container. Okay, let's have a position first. Positioned, and what I can do, let's keep it positioned only. Let's give it a child, and let's give the container. Now I'm doing it a little bit faster than usual, but just bear with me, and I'll share you the code. Okay, don't worry. So let's give it a height of, let's say, 60 pixels, and width of, let's say, I think let's not give it width. We'll see what we can do with width later on. Let's give it a child and give it text, get started, like this. And what else I wanted to give? I want it to be on the bottom, somewhere from the bottom. So I'm going to give it bottom, and I can give it property like 70, or maybe I think so 60 would be fine. Okay, so let's try to, and let's center the text as well. Otherwise, it will not work. That's great. Let's center this thing. I'm going through it very quickly right now. I understand that part. I'll explain it to you. Don't worry. That image appeared here. Okay, some kind of technical glitch. Okay, so now I need to give decoration to this thing, right? So I need to give a property. My container is here, but it's not visible because it's too dim and too dark. So I can give it decoration. It takes a property of box decoration. Let me just write it down. I'll explain it to you. Color. Let's give it this color which I have saved over here. And also we need to give it a border radius so that its edges are rounded. So let's give it a border radius. I'm going through it quickly right now. I understand that. Let's try to see what are we up to so far. Again, this would have been much more interesting, I think, if this would have been an offline event, and we could have set up all the local servers and all things like that. Okay, so let's try to give a width to it as well now. width of, let's say, 200 I want to give it, and let's hit run again. And what I want to do is I want to also align it. So let's give it align, let's give it position dot fill. Position dot fill. Earlier I've refrained from it, but I'm giving it right now. And let's use a align widget here. I can understand if someone is feeling like this is I'm not getting anything right now. But I'll share you this code and I'll explain it to you. Don't worry. Alignment, alignment dot, then a dot bottom center. Let's try to see if it's any better now. Yeah, much better. So you see, it's much better now. I'm sharing you this code, and then you can try it out, and then we can discuss on it. You can add more elements to it, but I think it's complex enough for now. Okay, so I'm sharing this code. This is the entire stack of code that we have. You can place it in your body, and you can simply try to use this thing, right? And again, if you share the whole code, okay, I'll share the whole code. That's also what we can do. Yeah, I've made a lot of changes. I think, yeah, it would be only fine. Yeah, so here I've shared the whole code, okay? So it's nothing more than what I have told you so far. It's simply those many things with some little bit of extra properties here and there. Just a little bit of things here and there, nothing else. Or try to run this thing. If anyone is facing any issues, just let me know. We can solve them. Otherwise, we have like created this UI successfully like this, right? It was the same UI which we had here. And like one kind of homework that you can take is that if you want to enter this text, which is here, right, below the welcome text, the subheading kind of text, you can try to add this thing on your own. You can try to add this thing. You can. It's up to you right now to complete this thing. Otherwise, we are done from my side. Try it out. Tell me if anyone is facing any issues. Otherwise, we can just. I'm just open for questions if anyone has some. I think I answered Avni's question as well. Yes, I answered it. Okay, so I can see a few folks here. So first of all, like kudos to you guys. You guys are sticking around till the very end of the session. That's very brave of you, I would say. Like a lot of people would not be able to make it so far. Okay, so this looks an interesting error. Ashutosh has sent an error. Let's check it out. Anyone else facing issues in this thing? Acha, Ashutosh, can we share images in this chat or something? Okay, let me stop the recording and I'll enable you to share your screen if you